go crazy. Know your limits. Like some boats aren't meant for big, big lakes.
Right,
Stuff
no,
like
right.
that.
Welcome to Dadgum Outdoors. Today I've got one of my fishing buddies with me here. We're going to try and answer some questions for you, dig in a little bit, and just see what's on his mind. You know, that's how we recharge, is out here in the beautiful wilderness. Just enjoying, whether it be hunting, fishing, no matter what it is. So how's it going, Jake?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about yourself?
Peachy Keen. It's Friday and it's time to enjoy the weekend.
That's right.
I appreciate you joining me though. I see you go out all the time. You're doing your prep. You're doing your just getting out there. Whether you're doing good, whether you're doing bad in the fishing, don't matter what it is. You're out there and you're doing it. That's the biggest thing. I see a lot of people say, "Oh well, when I get to this point, then I'll start," or "When I get to this point in my life or in my week, I'll start. If it works good, I'll go ahead and do it then." So I see that, and I see so many people put up barriers of why they can't do something. It's crazy. What got you into fishing in the first place? Like, what's your story?
Oof, what got me into it? Well, I'd have to give it all to my gramps. He started my journey. Actually, it was ice fishing starting out, so it was pretty cool. Back when I was younger, about 4 or 5, started out. That's back when the fishing was good. Now you got to fight tooth and nail for it because everybody and their brother comes up here and calls 2 to 3 inch perch keepers. So you got to fight tooth and nail. But I definitely would have to give that one to my gramps for sure. Started it all out, and I wouldn't say a passion. It's almost a way of life now. Every living moment. If I can get out, I'm out there.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right. Now, did you have the bug for it right away, or was it like most kids are like, it's all right, and if you're not catching anything, you're like, I don't really want to do this. What was that you, or were you like, no, I'm doing this every minute?
This is my favorite part. I love when people ask me this too. No, actually, I was so many things were going on. My uncle Millie was out there. He'd always bring his 4-wheeler and stuff, and I was always big into 4-wheelers and stuff. I loved fishing and whatnot, but we'd get onto a run, and all I would want to do is get on that 4-wheeler and just ride around in the snow, ride around on the ice because I thought it was cool. And then a couple weeks go by, and I really noticed my grandfather and my uncle just hammering them left and right, and I'm just sitting there like, I probably should do that too. And then just kind of fired off from there. I mean, we were hitting 3-man limits in 2 hours. But that's when perch was 50-man limit. So
wow,
it's not bad. You get the right spots now. It's still to this day. You could, as soon as your line hits the bottom, you could definitely get a couple man's limit in a small amount of time if you find the right spots.
Right.
It's hard.
So if you started in ice fishing, what got you into doing everything else you're doing now?
Oh, jeez. Well, I do quite a bit. I stick away from salt water.
Okay.
Kudos to the ones that know how to do that. That is some hardcore fishing right there. The fish are stubborn in salt water, I feel. Or maybe I just don't know.
Bigger area though,
that's
right?
For sure, yeah. But
But
I do a lot of freshwater, stream hopping for trout. I just got into bow fishing a little bit last season, which if you haven't tried bow fishing, go ahead and give
that's
that a
something
try there.
I've bow hunted, but I've not done any bow fishing. It's always been going to the Zepco and getting work with that.
Yeah, well, on that topic, bow fishing is a whole nother sport, man.
I can imagine.
You ever hear the expression, water comes alive at night, or like the woods? Well, like, you go out there on a boat, got 8, 12 lights on this boat, 4 or 5 guys, you go out there and you're floating over 2, 3 foot of water, and during spawn season, you'll see hundreds of fish if you're in the right area. Between gar, like common gar up here, and the invasive carp,
Right.
like up this way in New York region. You go down to like Jersey and stuff, then you start to see like snakehead and grass carp and stuff like that. But yeah, we get some interesting shots out there, that's for sure.
Wow. So what you've done ice fishing, you do the fishing you do now, you do bow fishing, you started that. Is there really any favorite style? I mean, is it more bass fishing that you prefer? I mean, obviously you prefer all of it. You enjoy
For sure.
getting out there. But like, is there any son? Oh, I would pick bass fishing over ice fishing, right? You know, is there any favorite type?
It'd have to be a close one. I mean, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty stuck on bow fishing. That is a rush and a half, but ice fishing still got me, man.
So it's just what you started with, and
Yeah.
it's what you got.
Ice fishing still got me. If I could live around here and have the ice on the lakes 24/7, I'd be okay.
So it was more like an Alaska thing would be fun for you
Yep.
then.
Yeah, that's
you
for
know.
sure. Ice fish all day long, every day. It's insane, man. You get some people don't enjoy it because it's so cold and
Yeah.
you know it's work. Sometimes it's work. You know, sometimes if you don't have a power auger, you got to hand drill that. You got 8-10 inches of ice. That's a workout for sure.
So it's a process just to even be able to fish.
Yeah, for the most part. But if you got the right equipment, get the right people to go with. If you're starting out,
Right.
it's not too bad.
See, being from the South, I mean that's another thing. We're in upstate New York, and I'm a Tennessee boy. So to hear ice fishing in general, let alone thinking about going out there and doing that, I'm just like I got excuses to stay warm. Last time I saw anything with ice fishing was the movie Grumpy Old Men. Like, and I'm like that they're crazy.
That's a scary
You know,
man.
that's a crazy people right there. I couldn't imagine. I mean, and I have to ask this. It's something I ask pretty much everybody that bass fishes, because where I grew up, we were used to catching 60, 70-pound catfish. We was after cats. We didn't go after bass. And our motto growing up in the backwoods were, you catch it, as long as it was legal, you ate it. You didn't throw it back. Are you a keeper or are you a releaser? Watch his reaction.
Jeez. Puts me on the spot here. It's a good one though. Certain species, catfish, 100%. They're coming home
Right.
for sure. Bass, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm taking them too, but I'm a big trout guy. I like to fish trout, stuff like that, Lakers, salmon. Yeah, like in the ice season, I'll take them. But if I'm fishing them summertime, early spring, nope. I'll get a picture, I'll get a video, whatever you got to do. But I'm 99% of the time I'm putting them back when it starts to get warmer. I don't know. All my brook trout, 99% of my brook trout go back. I don't know what it is, but I'm a hunter-gatherer myself, man. I love it. I go out to gather food, gather peace, but some species of fish, man, it's just a spot. It's like, I'll let you live.
Right.
They are trout alone, like brook trout, rainbow, brown. I'm probably forgetting some too, but like they are such a majestic species of fish. It's just so crazy to see how they live and how they thrive.
Right.
But yeah,
And you're saying you're just now really getting into fly fishing too, right? Is that something you're venturing into, or is that just more of a trying it type
you
deal?
know, I'm trying to ease into it. That is a trick of the trade. If you can get it down,
It's more of an art.
yeah, I guess
I
so.
feel like.
Yeah. Technique. If you don't have that
Right.
little flick of the wrist, as
Right.
the old guy at Lake George told me, the flick of the wrist, he says you'll never get it. So I guess anybody can learn it if you try hard enough and have enough dedication.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely art. I've done a little bit down in Georgia, and it was fun. We was never catching it because it was more of a small, what we would call a creek. So it wasn't never really anything be like, oh yeah, I'm keeping this to eat. But it was fun,
Yeah.
but definitely tricky. So what do you look for? And I'm not trying to give away or have you give away any of your secret fishing spots or anything, but when you look for a new spot, if you run upon a new spot, what do you look for and think, you know what, that right there would be a great spot for fish, whether it be bass or whatever it may be? What for you do you count on for anyone out there that may be a beginner and thinking, I just know to go to the water. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for.
Wow. We'll put it, for instance, say we're targeting some crappie. I like to look for like down branches, small trees that are overhanging the water. Could be anywhere. Kind of look for some water quality's kind of murky, not where. Say you can see the bottom on the edge of the line, but you can't see it out there. You want to fish all that stuff that you can see, because the crappie are going to be hanging on the rocks and on the bank off the sun, not in that mucky stuff, so they can see the bait. So if you got more coverage in small areas, like brushy areas, woody areas, if you got flooded like woodlands or stuff like that, toss around those logs, toss around up in the brushy areas, and I mean, got a chance of catching crappie. That's what we do up here. I don't know about down south or whatever around there, but most of the time it's under brush on big structure that sits in the water. Beaver huts thrive with crappie, and you get them in the right time of the season. They absolutely go crazy. Bass, pretty much the same thing. Depending on the lake, depending on the body of water you're fishing, you could either use you could search docks, search hard like big structures that if you've got a fish finder, you can find structures on the bottom, but it's all dependent on structures and the way of the water and what you're looking for. And baits, sometimes like that.
And I'm sure a lot of it just becomes more trial and error too, I'm sure.
Most of the time. I could say if I were to scale it out of the week, Monday through Friday, 4 out of the 5 days I'd catch fish. 1-2 days I'm just out there pretty much testing baits, trying new lures, trying everything to see, maybe if I throw this because Jerry Joe's been throwing this guy for so long out here, maybe it'll spike up something and you get a feeding frenzy or whatever. Not very many of those happen.
See, so again, my background is a lot of catfish, and in the past, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, I'd say I've been doing bass fishing, and so I'm just now doing the bait casters and stuff of that nature. Now, what
is gonna be a good one?
What do you recommend for beginners that want to get into bass fishing? Like, what would be a nice little setup for them? For a beginner who knows nothing about bass fishing.
Bait caster wise or open face?
Either. Which would you prefer, and what would set them up for a good beginner, again?
Well, a beginner. I started out myself on a spinning rod. I never used a push button. Kind of tried to use bait caster when I first started, but it was tricky, so I just put it away and I just started with the spinner. But for a beginner, I would definitely suggest an open face to start. I mean, unless you want a challenge, I'd say run a bait caster. They do make them now. Shimano, I've got one myself. It's the DC, the SLX. Thing is amazing. It has a digital brake. So you could cast the lightest jig you have in your box to the heaviest jig without having to keep tension on your thumb. Because the digital brake inside slows it down kind of, so you can whip it so it doesn't bird nest. I should have brought it. I was gonna. I thought about it, but that's a little on the pricey side though for a beginner to start out on. say you could hand me one of those push button Zebcos and you could hand me an old school open face, and I'm gonna look at that thing, think about how to push that button and cast it, and I could take that one and just cast it.
Right,
easy,
not even think about it.
because I never really used them. The only time I do is like my little jig stick.
Right.
It just kind of just falls to the bottom.
Right,
so it's not
right.
like I'm casting it or nothing.
Now, do you have any days where you don't go out there intentionally trying to, as stupid as this will sound, you don't intentionally go out there to catch fish. You go out there to try new products or new baits or a new rod and reel. Is there any of that, or is it just simply you're going out there to catch fish and you learn as you go?
Oh man, so normally me and a couple of my other buddies, I don't have very many friends, so we just, the little group that I got, we stick together, fish
Right.
it out. So
Right.
we'll plan it. We'll say we're gonna go out and hammer fish, but we'll get halfway into it and the fish won't bite, or the bite's just slow, or they're biting worm and they're not biting anything with like no finesse jigs, no hard baits, nothing that we're throwing
Right,
crankbaits. So we'll just catch some panfish and just throw baits, shit talk and whatnot.
Just have fun with it.
Have fun with it. There's no point being grumpy if the fish aren't biting.
Right.
You're trying to find them in their environment, so
Right.
they're hiding.
Right. Right.
That's the point of fishing. That's why they call it fishing and not catching.
Right. You don't go out there just to catch. You go out there to fish. So I guess that brings me to my next thing. Like on those days, because I think we've all had them. You go out there, you've got this great, setup, your rod, your reels, your baits. You got lunch set aside. I mean, you got it planned for the day you're going to go out there and you're just going to wear them out. And literally nothing all day. You're getting nothing. Like you may get a nibble and it just messes. What keeps you out there? Like, I mean, is it sheer determination to catch something and say, I've caught something. I caught a bluegill, or what is it? What keeps you out there? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, starting out in fishing, I would go out there and I had a bad temper, so I'd get into about an hour or two of it and I'd get mad and I'm like, I'm going to the house. I'm done. I'm not catching anything. I'm done. So what keeps you out there when they're not biting? What advice you got for that?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm wild. I like to adventure, get into new pieces of land and whatnot. So if we're out on the boat, we're not catching anything. We'll shore up wherever, man. Hop off, go venture off around the land, find stuff, just check out the land and whatnot. We don't always stick to the water. There's some days we'll go out there, fish for 2-3 hours, and absolutely just test product pretty much.
Right.
Shit talk, not catch anything. We'll just let the river, the wind take us, float around, talk all day. It's not really. For myself personally, and my buddy would probably vouch for it, and my other buddy would too. I don't know if we go out there for the fishing or for the fun and the experience that we have and share together.
Right.
Because I could go out there and watch those two catch fish all day and be the jolliest beach in the whole world. If I could put my buddies on fish Monday through Friday and guarantee them PBs, I wouldn't have to catch a fish to be happy.
So you're more of you lean more toward, instead of the competitor of wanting to outdo everyone, more of a guide, I guess you would say. Like, obviously you want to catch fish. That's the whole point of going out
that's
there.
That's the funnest part.
But, at the same point, you could be like, you like you were just saying, you put someone on a fish and you're just as happy.
Yep. It is, man, and it's almost a different experience when you go out there to do it that way. Sometimes I get pretty competitive, like early season bass. The bass are on beds, hitting like crazy,
Right.
So buddies in the front of the boat, fucking horsing them in one after another. No, you're back there rolling that trolling motor, running the camera.
Right.
You're like, all right, bud, time to step to the back of the boat.
Just switch.
Let me show you how it's done. But 99% of the time, I'm driving the boat,
Right.
watching the fish finder, looking for structure to pull up on, for fishing panfish on the boat. I'm constantly looking for structure, but 99% of the time, my boys are on fish before I am.
Okay. Now, what do you use them for a boat? I mean, because you don't have this $60,000 boat out here out doing all the Bassmaster Classics and such. So, what do you use, and what have you found again, goes for a beginner because I feel like a lot of people think they have to have this nice, fancy boat to go out there and do some fishing. Otherwise, they are landlocked to the banks.
Well, that actually started my journey on building a boat. I was landlocked for a while, a long time. I got out on my buddy's boat and I was just thinking, I was like, dude, look at all the fish we see out here on the boat. And I'm like, I see them out here swimming on the shore, but they don't bite. So I was like, you know what? I got a hold of my buddy. He's got a shop. I gave him the idea. I was like, dude, I got a 10-foot aluminum boat. I'll cut the seats out. We'll build a deck. And he's like, no way, it's not happening. So process waited and we waited and we waited. Tried to find one, nothing come around cheap. Everything's upwards of 10 grand for a decent boat.
Right.
So I put it in his ear again. I was like, look, dude, we'll build this 10-foot John boat that I got. We'll put a flat deck in it and call it a bass boat.
Oh.
Kid calls me back that night and he's like, bring it over. So needless to say, I got a 10-foot John boat with a brand new deck in it, looking like a bass tracker, and I only paid $70.
Oh. So you can take just about anything and go out there and have a good time and catch a fish.
That's for sure. As long as you're doing it legal, don't
Right.
get caught out there
Right.
on them unregistered crafts, because they are gonna get you with the book.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got determination, anything will do. Don't go crazy. Know your limits. Like, some boats aren't meant for big lakes.
Right,
Stuff like
right.
that.
I mean, you wouldn't take something like that out on Lake George and try to compete, would you?
I mean, you are talking to the wrong person, because, and if my buddy was here, he'd vouch for me as well, and himself being the co-pilot. Oh yeah, you bet your sweet bippy butt. If there was a good run out there, good chance that you'd see me and my buddy back in my homemade boat and trailer into that launch there and taking off, because I've seen some decent sized bass come out of there in the season, especially
Really?
the smallies. But yeah, a little bit on the crazy side.
Test the limits.
Yep, you gotta live a little.
There you go. Notice he says live. Don't do something that'll get you killed.
That's the key word, live. Yeah.
Now, what's the biggest bass you ever caught, large or small?
So my personal best for bass is smallie, and it's like 3.5 pounds. Nothing
3.5
crazy.
pounds. Okay.
I haven't really found anything, no good bass spots. I literally fish a rapid spot on the part of the Hudson. They're loaded. You could throw a turd out there with a hook on it, and they would probably bite it if it was shiny enough, But that's another spot we go just to mess around, because we know we're going to catch them. We're not going to catch monsters every time, but
Right.
it's hit or miss out there, because the smallies out there are chilling in these. It's a big rapid section, and it comes into this really deep pool, but the rapid section is just loaded with rocks. So if you can get it into that part of the rapids and get it to float down into the big pool, they just sit there behind the rocks. So you got a chance of getting 2-inchers. One of my best friends, he got a 4.5 pounder in the end of the season, and that thing was it was just long fish, so it looked huge.
Right.
It was big for the river, but we've seen pretty big fish swimming around down there, and they don't even care.
Really? Sheesh. Now, something I always wondered, and I'm trying to learn. Again, I'm newer to bass fishing. Is there any certain? I know different baits work for different areas, different places, such of that nature, depending on everything fluctuates. It's all variables. But is there any? Not necessarily chart, but is there any staple you can say of, okay, if the water's murky, you can kind of throw these color baits, or if the water's clear, throw this, and you'll kind of, is there anything that you have or that you found that works like that? Because I've heard that, but I don't know.
The clarity is a big factor, especially if you're throwing like moving baits or like even Senkos or like rubber baits and stuff like that. The color matters. Like if the water's murky, you kind of want to throw something with a lighter texture, or maybe if you're throwing like a hard bait, you want to throw something with a little bit of noise something with a little bit of shine. A lot of people say, oh, I throw, like dark green with red flake
Right.
in moderate to murky water. If you could see the bottom, good chances you could use, depends on what you're targeting, just about anything.
Right.
But clarity is big key for sure.
Okay. Now, you talked a little earlier about being out there and just enjoying your time out on the water. Daggum outdoors, I feel like a lot of us, in this digital age, I guess you can say, we're on our phones, we're on our computers, we're surrounded by moving, and how can I do something so quick? And you take fishing, you take hunting, you take hiking, and things of that nature. Do you feel like you're more recharged when you come back from those trips? Or are you more of, it was fun, I'm tired, I need to find another way to rest? How do you feel?
Oh, definitely recharged. I could say that for sure. Depending on what I'm doing. Fishing, for sure coming back recharged. Hiking, I'd probably come back recharged depending on the hike.
Right.
Depending on what I decide to do that day. I've done quite a few hikes where I've got down and I'm like, yeah, this is great. Let's go do something. And then I get down and I sit in my truck for a few minutes and I'm like, I'm not even going to cook dinner when I get home because my legs are dead.
Just kicked you.
Yeah.
So now are you working on a YouTube, or you have a YouTube? What's going on with that?
That's kind of in the making as well. We're trying to kind of get some stuff together. I'm a big quality guy. I want to get my stuff together first. I got some camera gear coming.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of wait time. I make TikTok every now and then. Most of my stuff goes on Instagram.
Okay.
But
now, what is your Instagram for anyone that may want to follow you for some info or some such of that nature?
It's a good question. It's actually what my YouTube name's going to be, and also my TikTok. It's This and That Outdoors.
Okay. I'll list those in the description below as well for you guys to be able to go and would you be interested in if someone comments on you or reaches out to you answering questions and such of that nature?
For
Okay,
sure.
so you can reach out to him, and I'm sure he'll have some videos up soon, and I'm sure it won't be the last time we speak with him. Is there any shout outs you want? Is there any any certain gear that you want to give a thank you for putting out this kind of gear for you to use or anything of that nature?
Oh man, you're probably gonna hear it, but I'm gonna have to say a big thanks to Googan. They're not.
I knew that was coming.
But man, they are just putting out baits that are absolutely crushing the fish. The bait selection in my freaking tackle box. It used to be Gary Yamamoto. Still like their Gary, but the price is a little high. But yeah, Googan is doing it up with their soft plastics.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Definitely have to say that one for sure.
Okay. Any rod and reels, anything of that nature? Or?
No, I actually got one of my bow fishing buddies, Knocking Scales Outdoors. He's dude's a slayer, man. He actually absolutely fucking kills. You get some tankers. I've seen some pretty big ones come off my other buddy's boat, but he's not really into the virtual side of it. He's pretty much there for the captain as well.
Right.
He's killed some big ones, but my buddy there on Knocking Scales Outdoors, he is an animal, man. He has got out. They've gone to Texas, killed alligator gar, big grass carp. Actually went down to Jersey with those guys to shoot snakehead and grass carp. Dude, I'm talking about a group of killers when you get with them guys.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine going out there, and like I said, I've shot bow, but I've never. How much draw weight is on that?
Depending on what you're shooting, normally like 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
Really?
Nothing too crazy. You don't have to go crazy. You can crank your bows, but you're gonna shoot. If you miss, you're gonna blast it into the ground, and you better fucking hope you didn't sink it, because that's a fight and a half of itself. You sink those arrows in some of that hard mud, or accidentally sink it in a log.
Right.
One, you're either cutting it or two, you're sitting there in that spot for a good few minutes trying to horse that thing out.
I'm sure those things aren't cheap if you have to cut them. I mean,
No, definitely not. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're like $25 for just the arrow, and then you're looking at another fee for depending on the tips you're using.
right.
But I'm not really up to date with the tips, so I'm not sure the price on that. Change the gas here.
Yeah, so, you know, this is with Jake again. You know, it was easy to get him out here. You know, he loves the outdoors, he loves fishing. You know, I want to make it about fishing with him. That's how we recharge, no matter what you're doing out here. And being my neighbor as well, he's one of the guys that, like I say, I've seen him go out. He'll come back, he'll fish, he'll do all his stuff, and I'm just like, I'm just trying to find time in my day just to, you know, sit down, drink a cup of coffee, and figure out where I'm going to go. And he's out here getting it done, and I think that's a big thing of just going out there. Just like I always say, it's not you got to find time, you got to make time to do those things. And I'm sure you're the same way. You just gotta you make time. That's your priority.
Yep,
You know,
that's
to,
for
to
sure.
be able to do that.
It's
you know.
sometimes, I'm not even gonna lie, sometimes that's what gets me through the day, knowing that I'm about to come home and load up the fishing reels
Right,
and go
right,
fishing.
right.
But definitely a way to recharge
There you go.
if I had a way to
There
do
you
it.
go. So again, Jake here. Thank you for joining me.
Anytime.
Justin with the Daygum Outdoors. There'll definitely be more videos to come. It's a beautiful day here. Never thought I'd say that being